So the QB rankings, and we went Patrick Mahomes number 1, and I think Brady and Rodgers we all debated 2 and 3, and they were both there, and Russell Wilson was 4, Deshaun Watson 5. I think after that though, after the top 5, there's a lot of questions. I think that's where it started to become interchangeable in a quarterback ranking list. And you know me, I like tiers more than this 1 to 32 thing.
You were not putting Josh Allen into that top group, and yet you are claiming the next group are interchangeable.
I need to see more evidence from Josh Allen. I think that's fair.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're a man that's spent a lot of time on the wrong side of the tracks when it comes to the Josh Allen experience.
I would say I spent 2/3 of his career on the right side of the tracks. I think that's the way I would. I think that's the way I would break it down.
Yeah, but the most recent third is the one where you're falling foul.
Yeah, I'll bring it up again. Lamar Jackson last year at this time would absolutely have been, probably 6th or 7th or whatever, coming off his MVP season.
The other thing that's funny about these lists is that there's like no position you can rank a guy other than first where somebody isn't going to claim disrespect.
Yeah, of course.
It's like,
you're
going to rank the number 5 player, the number 5 player in the NFL. That's blatant disrespect. You are insulting this human being with this ranking. You're like, we are saying there's only 4 players in the NFL at that position better than this guy. That's an incredibly rare place to be. It's a fantastic ranking. Deal with it.
All right. So once again, I think the quarterback stuff should be more tier based anyway. So we've always used this idea that there's the tier 1 of quarterbacks.
Hang on. We managed to manufacture a picture of Roethlisberger next to Bruce in this article.
Oh, we did. Wow.
Yes.
Look at that.
Who managed to make that happen? Can we get Bruce?
Bruce wrote it.
Has Bruce got like a writer in his contract that he gets like playing time photo?
Why do we keep putting the pictures above the guy's name instead of below? It's very confusing. Is that just like the way it's supposed to be editorially? I don't like it.
I don't know.
It's confusing.
Take it up with
it should be under Roethlisberger's name, under his write-up.
Take it up with Chichester.
Mark, if you're listening, come on, flip the pictures, man. They should be under. So
Mark,
Bruce got his own picture there.
Mark Chichester is one of our editors here at PFF, and because we're in America, you guys refer to him as Chichester because you can't say names right.
I just never say his last name.
Well, no, you've learned that you can't say it, so you just don't say it. But other people being Americanized look at that and they're like, Chichester. And we appear to have collectively as a company just decided to roll with mispronouncing his name.
I did not sign off on these rankings. Wentz and Goff are that low?
Well, yeah.
That's a little ridiculous.
They've both been pretty bad for a while.
That's a little ridiculous. They haven't been bad for a while.
Are you comfortable with the Jameis?
They should be ahead of Daniel Jones.
The Jason or Tamus being 24?
Not
I like the way that we've just lumped them as one human.
Well, because we're ranking the starters. So Tamus has to be the starter. So, yeah, Goff is too low. That's why I was getting messages about, hey, that Goff ranking's interesting, and I didn't even see. I was on vacation. I was on the beach. I don't know what the final ranking was. And then I see it's 26. Jared Goff should be higher than 26. Goff and Wentz should both be right around 20. Honestly, I think they're both where a couple years ago when we did this, Jameis and Mariota were both like 19, 20, 21, like in that range. And I think that's probably where Goff and Wentz are. But more importantly, it's about the tiers. And here's what I would say, right? In the last decade, I keep coming back to Brady, Breeze, Rodgers, Peyton, right? Those were the guys, tier 1 quarterbacks. There's little debate. No matter how you slice the last 15 years of NFL football, those are the top guys. Mahomes is now in that group. And then Brady and Rodgers are just at the tail end of their career. So if you want to call them tier 1 or tier 2, whatever you want to say. I think Russell Wilson, does the second half of the season last year diminish Russell Wilson being in that tier 1 quarterback group? Because he was, for a year and a half, it was like, all right, he's there. It's him and Mahomes.
I think he's probably still in that group, but he's the most fragile member of it, right? Like Russell Wilson has multiple seasons with that kind of level play, not just the couple of years before things unspooled at the second half of last season, but like his rookie year was basically a 90 graded season. He's been at that kind of level for a lot of his career. Now, he's also had seasons where he's below that, but I think you can give him the benefit of the doubt that he's up there at that level. He's just the one member of that group who you could see dropping below that level much more readily than the others.
All right, so Wilson's a fragile member of Tier 1. I would say Deshaun Watson, too. As much as we've raved about how well he played last year, he went from good, solid quarterback to having his first elite year. So
that was his Josh Allen year in terms of like those. It was a smaller jump, right?
Sure.
But that's the first year. What I mean by that is it's the first year that he and Josh Allen were in that 90 grade tier of genuinely elite quarterback play. Watson just had a shorter jump to get there.
Right, and I think that's where you could put like Dak. Dak is another one of those guys who's just been solid. And there is something, if you've just been, this is what Watson did. If you've just been solid for a few years, this is what Luck did too. If you're solid for 4 or 5 years, that does, give you that opportunity to jump into the elite tier, so to speak.
It's easier to catch lightning in a bottle if you're coming from a stage of like 85 grades than it is if you're coming. This is like.
I'm not even calling this light. I just think that's.
But it's easier to catch that season where things go in your direction. You end up with that phenomenal 90 MVP level year versus the thing that you keep expecting to happen for Jameis Winston, where like suddenly the stars are all going to align and Jameis goes from like to MVP.
I mean, Allen just did it, so from further back.
I'm just saying.
So here's my
easier
point.
to happen. It's easier to achieve if you're already like starting off from a much higher baseline.
I've always described the Tier 1 quarterback as the guy that, just he's going to carry the team. Almost doesn't matter what's around him. We've seen the Peytons and Bradys and Rodgers and Breezes of the world deal with different supporting casts. We've seen them deal with different situations and all that stuff. And for the most part, they've been great throughout their entire career. Mahomes might be the only guy that you could truly trust in that tier going forward. And even then, we still haven't seen, I keep saying we still haven't seen him without Tyreek and Kelsey and
right.
Reed.
When you factor in age, Mahomes is the one bulletproof member of this entire ranking. Right? So like Brady at some point, surely at 43, 44 has got to start like at some stage. There has to be some kind of decline somewhere. Aaron Rodgers, like the match 2.0, Tom Brady and the golf thing, right? Brady, they're all trash talking each other, and Brady is like calling Rodgers a young buck. Rodgers like 38 years old, for God's sake.
Yeah, Tom Brady's a funny guy.
Yeah. But, at some point, Rodgers is probably going to start to slow down as well. Like the big conundrum that anybody's facing if they're trying to trade for him is how many more elite Rodgers years can you bank on? Because he is 37, 38 years old. So yeah, when you factor in age, like Mahomes is the one guy who you can just pencil in there for the next decade and not have to worry about it.
So this is why. Here's why I like tiers. I'm going to use your slider system again.
It's a good system.
The better you have 2 sliders, right? It's how good is the quarterback, and then how good is the supporting cast.
You're changing the slider.
Yes,
wow.
I'm saying the slide. I'm not talking about the arm strength slider. I'm using it for something else. So you've got the slider of how good the quarterback is and how good is the supporting cast. The further to the right, the better the quarterback, the lower the supporting cast can go while still getting, say, above average or elite production or whatever you want that production to look like, right? So the Tier 2 quarterback is the one I think is the most interesting going forward in the NFL right now. Because as much as we said, okay, there's this top 4 for the last 15 years, the next tier of quarterback over the last 10 years or so, Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck, Ben Roethlisberger, I'd say Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan. Who am I missing in that group? There was like 6 or 7 of them, and all those guys make up. It was, I think it was 6. I think it was just 6 total. That might have been it. But it's just that, and then I think Watson's in that tier right now. But I think all of those guys that I'm mentioning are either retiring, getting older, retired, dropping off. So Wilson, so let's say he jumped up a spot. Who's that Tier 2 in the NFL? Going forward, they need a little bit more supporting cast. They're not going to carry a team completely by themselves, but when you put the right supporting cast around, aka what Josh Allen had last year, you can get incredible play. Who is that next tier going forward? Because I think this is the part where it's just wide open in the NFL these days.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. People are going to get mad if we spend the whole show talking about quarterbacks. But to me, the takeaway when you look at this list is like we're in this great age right now of quarterbacks. This is a good time league-wide in terms of quarterback play. Overall, like, you complained about the Jared Goff ranking 26 in this list right now, but Cam Newton 27, like Darnold 28. You can go all the way down this list and find guys that there are reasons to be optimistic about them starting for their teams and being viable at the position. You don't need to go back very far to find that not being the case at all. And the bottom 10 guys on any quarterback ranking are like complete dumpster fires that needed to be replaced ASAP. Like, there's maybe one or two of those guys in the NFL right now, and the players for them to be replaced by are around. You know, it's not like there's 30 quarterbacks in the NFL that can do this job and we're out. We're too short. Two teams that just got to make do. There's more than 30 quarterbacks that can start and be okay. There's more than 32 quarterbacks that can start and be okay in the NFL. They just aren't necessarily like all spread throughout the NFL. Like, there might be a team or two that doesn't have any of them right now.
All right, so we could spend the whole show on the quarterbacks, but you don't want to. That's fine. I agree. I mean, the difference between, Tannehill, who's played great the last couple of years, but, I mean, he's at 12. I mean, the difference between him and Jared Goff at 26, I don't think is massive. There's not a huge difference in a lot of the middle tier of quarterbacks is wider than ever. I think that's the bottom line. And then the bottom of the list, as you said, it's a whole bunch of we don't know yet. It's younger guys who we just don't know yet.
But I think quarterbacks, the standard of quarterbacks right now is in a good place in the NFL. Like, this is an area of strength in when you don't have to go back too far for that not to be the case.
It's still all relative though.
Relative to what?
Because there's still an advantage having a top 10 guy. There's still a huge advantage.
Yeah, but
even though it's easier to find a top
right. But when you're looking throughout the NFL at relative strengths and weaknesses of various positions, there are not very many good guards in today's NFL. Like, interior offensive line is a very thin area of the NFL right now. Quarterbacks has reached a point where it isn't. It's actually pretty deep. And if you don't have, and this is why a team like Washington can go this route of saying, we have a good team, we'll deal with quarterback in the future. Right now it's Fitzpatrick. We'll figure out what it looks like next year and the year beyond, because we're not concerned anymore about our ability to find a viable starting quarterback.